All right. Hello, guys, and welcome back. Let's start now. Firstly, I would like to introduce the speakers for today. For our first speakers, we have Jeffrey Cheah here. Uh, Say hello. uh,
Hi everyone,
yeah,
I'm Jeffrey.
yeah. Short introduction to Jeffrey. After acquiring his bachelor's degree in architecture from TELUS in 2016, he has pursued his master's degree in architecture at Dessau International Architecture at Bauhaus in Germany and graduated with first class honors. And today he's working as a senior architect in WTA Architecture and design studio in Manila in the Philippines. Over the past few years, he has worked on a small scale to large scale architectural projects and is currently involved in the master planning of a 419 hectare reclamation project located in Manila, the Philippine capital, and was also one of the project heads for the emergency quarantine facilities around Mega Manila. So there'll be a very interesting topic. And also, as a firm believer in the social architecture, he seeks to create architecture that operates in the manner of discovery and exploration and promotes qualities for a gentle and harmonious pace for social development. And without further ado, I would like to invite our guest today, Jeffrey Cheah, to share.
Hi everyone. So I'll be sharing my screen to start the presentation. Can you all see the slide?
Yeah.
So in today's presentation, I will be talking about the most recent project of mine. The first one is emergency quarantine facility for COVID-19. So last year when the outbreak of COVID-19, Philippines was one of the country in Asia that hit the most. So the first day of lockdown, and then the next day the company, the WT Architecture Engineering Studio, we come up with a solution and design to start to help to facilitate the patient. And this is some of the GIF and video to show the rough idea what will be the emergency quarantine looks like. So the idea is we wanted to build the quarantine facility in such a short time and with speed. So emergency quarantine facility are temporary structure to augment and increase the capacity of our hospital. It's meant to house POIs to keep them from spreading the infection. So the idea is to able to build enough facility to house all the POIs and allow all the virus to die out. Because this is the only way so far in the world that we stop the spread of the virus. So this will also prevent the hospital in Philippines for being overwhelmed and allow us to flatten the curve of pandemic growth. So as you can see here, we can finish one emergency quarantine facility in just 5 days, 3 days doing the construction, 1 day finishing, and then another 1 day just doing all the fittings out. So the main need we see actually is the speed and the scalability. So this structure has to be simple enough that it can be built quickly in 5 days, because it has to be use the material that available on in the country, because there will be no more delivery or whatsoever. Everything is affected because of this pandemic. So this is the floor plan that we designed. When we starting the team, actually we have our principal architect, architect William T, and then we have a Dr. Glenn, and then also there's a military major on board. So actually, when we try to approach everyone to kickstart this project, we need to come up with something approachable like design. So this design we just come up with in 1 day. So as you can see, the design is pretty simple. So with the height of 3.1 meter, and then with the dimension of 6 times 26 meter, it can accommodate 15 beds and with 2 toilets. So the patient and the healthcare worker will have different entrance. If you guys can see my mouse, can you see the mouse moving?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So this is the entrance for the nurse, and then this is the entrance for the patient. So it totally separates the entrance, the interaction between the nurses, the doctor, and also the patient. But then in the end, there will be one exit point, which is here. So they need to be doing doffing, so to throw away all the PPE, all the sheet, so before they go out. So this is the layout, and then also the airflow actually is directed in one way from front to rear with side vents that discharge air away from each bed and prevent recirculation. So as you can see, there's a ACU. It flow into one direction, and then there's an exhaust fan. So all the airflow in the EQF actually is just flowing one way. Okay. So this is the elevation. The main material we are using for EQF actually is wood, 2x4 wood, and then with plastic. We are using the material we can get like at a pretty cheap price, and then easy to get, easy to install, because we are using civilians and also military for us to build this EQF, and then we have to finish in a short time. Yeah. So this is the longitudinal section. As you can see, there's each of these box actually is for one patient. So there will be 15 of them, and then you can see the structure. So the skin, we are using plastic, but then we are not using fully using opaque plastic, but we're also combining with transparent. So there will be sunlight going into the facility, and also the nurses at the outside is easy for them to monitor the patient as well. So all the material we are using is 2x4 wood with paleta, and then with 4 finishing. So everything is pretty straightforward. Once you started one, and you know how to do for the next and next. So we are lucky to have a lot of builders together with us to build this. And then we're also doing our own fundraising. It's a pretty like tough for us to have the society, but this is the only way we can do, because when we think that during the pandemic, what can an architect do during this critical moment? Actually, we can do a lot of things. We are holding a important role in this critical situation. So this is one of the solutions. We give it back to the society, to the community. So in this picture, you can see we finished one emergency quarantine facility in just 3 days. This is the fastest architecture buildings that I ever built. And I don't think there's another building that can be installed so fast. So there'll be civilians. They are also helping the communities, because they know if we drag the pandemic even longer, there will be a lot of people starving, and then the damage will be even bigger. Yeah. So in this picture, we are installing the roof installation and the lighting. And then all these guys are military. They are army. And then we also cooperate with Navy and Air Force as well. So we all come together to build this and then to serve the people. So this is some of the progress. And then and another thing is because we try to build this emergency quarantine facility beside the hospital, or even in public amenities. So it's easy for the doctor to monitor them, because actually one of the main issue for COVID-19 is just not enough bed for the patient. Also, we don't have enough doctors and nurses to take care of them. So our most ideal place to build this actually is beside all these hospital, private hospital, government hospital, or even in the army base, navy base. Yeah. But then with the limitation of the site, as you can see from this picture, sometimes we cannot do this modular design. We have to change it a bit, because this design is so flexible. And then for this case, we do it in an L shape. Yeah. And then the septic tank for the patient to take shower, and then for the toilet use as well. Yeah, as you can see, the situation is so urgent. They even a patient down there, and then the workers still working on top. Yeah, so time is really a big thing for us to execute this. And then it's some interior pictures for the EQF. So it's fully aircon, and then each of them have their own private place. yeah, and private bed. And then up to last year, June, we managed to build a 75 emergency quarantine facility and provide more than 3,000 beds for the people in Philippines. And also Singapore are using our design to build as well. So in Singapore, there are also around 3,000 beds for the patient. Yeah. So this is some pictures we did. It's not all, but then like it's almost here. And then this one is one of the biggest EQS that we ever did. This one can accommodate more than 120 patients. This one is in the police HQ. We call it PMP in Philippines. And then in the center, there's a nurse station to control 4 of these EQF. So all the nurses will be in the middle to monitor all the patient. And then this one will be at the school. And then we try to use all the available places that we can to design all this, to build all this facility. So each of the barangay in Philippines meaning is community area. So each of the community we're trying to provide one emergency quarantine facility for them. Yeah. So this is the core team from the Beauty Architecture Engineering Studio. So this is the principal architect, my boss, and that's me. There's our colleague handling the logistics, fundraising, and then another project is as well. So this is the group picture of me together with all the armies. So we are really happy we could help the people like during this time. And then we also invited like all the civilians who are willing to help us to build this. And then they are really willing to do this because they also doing this for the community, not just for them. Yeah. And then actually the pandemic has forced us to reconsider our lifestyle globally. But yet we must be cautious not to charge into a policy of isolation and segregation. So actually architecture needs to conform its role in our society by delving into what this means for our built environment. So this is another project of mine, is Horizon Manila Master Plan. So this is the rendering. It's in Manila. So this area is actually Metro Manila. So it just been away from Manila about 3 kilometers, which is about 10 minutes away from the Manila. And then it's 419 hectares. Yeah, you can see from this location. They will be connecting with a viaduct, connect straight to the island. So Horizon Manila Master Plan composed of 3 different islands. There's 1, 2, 3, and then in total there's 419 hectares. And then before we started to design this, we looked into the problem like what actually is the problem of Manila facing right now. Actually, the city of Manila is one of the densest city in the world with an immense need for land and to alleviate congestion and also for the development for urban amenities that fit our modern lifestyles. So we come up with these sketches at first. We were thinking we want to design a city for people, like really emphasize on people, not for cars. So because there's a lot of example we can see in the world, the city with not really bad design is not really effective in the long run. So we have to think a bit further. So we come up with this idea with urban park, and then we were thinking like, who would not like to stay beside a river? And also this one reflects the Pasig River in Metro Manila. Is the starting point of how the settlement built out earlier in the Philippines, how they start the settlement. So a model for Metro Manila. Before we started to design, we have a guideline in our mind. So we wanted to we wanted to build a city with community plot ratio of 1, and also the green plot ratio of 1, meaning that if we have 419 hectares of master plan, right, of area, we need to provide also 419 hectares of community plot ratio and also 419 hectares of green spaces. And then also by integrating the canal into our master plan, we also managed to provide fresh water, which is something like a barrage. And then the fresh water actually can regenerate water back to the people staying in the city up to 3 months. And then when we talk about city in future, for sure they will be talking about sustainable in power, and then public transportation, public transport network, and also we wanted to make a walkable city. So in our master plan, if there will be a electric tram system, tractor system. So when you go to the tram stop, it's just 5 minutes. So from one stop to one stop, actually just five minutes away from each other. So we did a calculation. When you walk 5 minutes, actually just around 400 meters away, actually you can reach everywhere in the city by just walking. So also our main concept actually is driven by the community. We wanted to emphasize on the community, and then that's what make a city a good city, because if you have a good community, happy community, everyone will be happy in the city. Yeah. And also biological shoreline. How do we do it is actually we've got different termination for the canal also, and also for the marine edges. We are putting mangrove to protect the shoreline. Yeah. And also putting some world-class facility. I show you the next picture. So this is the landform. This also just a compressed version of what will be happen in all the master plan. So at first we will be introducing the canal and also the park. This is the marine edges and also the community square. This is the landform overall in our master plan. And then we're trying to do, we are doing this urban valley. So no matter how tall, which side are you facing, you are also a waterfront facing buildings. So another one is the social aspect. So we have all these facilities in our master plan: education, cultural, church, connection, and then we also come up with a guideline that on the ground floor they need to do an arcade, because Philippines, just like Malaysia, we are tropical country, so it's so hot and then it's humid. This is one of the guidelines we set to make the city walkable. So this is the axonometry. So on the top one, you can see actually we're introducing the urban park and also urban canal. And then the total green spaces we have in this master plan actually is around 80 hectares, which is a lot. And then they also, each of them also have their green roof. And then by introducing all this canal, the light blue one, actually is all the fresh water. So all this fresh water after being processed, it can be is drinkable. So you can sustain the city itself up to 3 months. So we are designing this city more like a self-sustained city, and then it's like a human-friendly, and then not really rely on transportation like vehicles or whatsoever. And then for the next diagram, so when we design the master plan, that's composed of 3 islands, right? So there'll be a Vieta coming from the Manila. So each of the island, actually they have their own loop. Even island 2 and island 3. And then all this loop is combined with a bigger loop. So meaning that all this red stop actually is the tram stop. So the tram will be keep going around and around for to circulate all these 3 islands. And then there's a radius, meaning that if you're staying here, you just have to walk for 5 minutes to the stop, and then you could go anywhere in the island. Yeah. And then this one, we are identifying 28 different communities. Each of the community have their own identity and characteristic. For the next one, you can see the residential, like how do we categorize all these different building types. So as you can see in the middle, actually is all the low FAR. We call it low FAR is meaning that it's not the high-rise building, it's maybe the medium rise or low rise building. So not even though you're staying here, you also have a view for both sides. You can have a view of sea view side, also the canal view side. And then when we talk about community, how do we form a community? when you see this diagram, actually a community composed of common interests, and then each community actually need to have their own identity. So for example, like when you talk about design and art district, what is the identity of the district itself? Actually, is the common interest of what they have in the community. So the orange one is all the people. So the people staying in the community, and then we need to have a lot of social spaces. For example, like plaza, square, and then for example, for design art district, maybe we need to have a museum. We need to have a space for a festival, for architecture or design festival. And then with all these, of all these conditions we have, and then we will have a connection, a social connection. So you will make a community really really thrive, because the people with a common interest in a community, they can share the experience also with other community. So this will make each of the community even stronger and bolder. And this the master plan. So this is the first island, second island, and third island. In this diagram, we also listed out different communities. There's 28 different communities, and then the red one actually is all the public facility. For example, this is the entrance, also connected to the next reclamation project. There will be a town hall here, and then this one is the transportation center station. So there will be a LRT coming from this point, and then all the main arrival point, also exit point, also will be here. So for the next one, there will be a school, and then like a golf park, the church, which is like a landform, emerged into a landscape, and then e-sport arena, because this district is for the IT communities, and there will be a skate park. So it's more like an extreme identity or characteristic in the certain area. So this part actually is the art and district. So there will be a museum here, yeah, and then there will be a theater. And the island 2 mostly is about tourism. So there will be a marina port here, and also casino, convention center, vertical zoo, yeah. And then at the lower part of this island 2, it's more on like a hospital, healthcare, yeah, and also could be wellness quarters. It's like people come here to relax, like for old people, like something like a retirement communities. Okay, and then at the in between island 2 and 3, this will be the shopping street, like a high-end shopping street along this whole street. Yeah, this one will be the normal shopping street, but this one will be the high end. And then we are placing all the iconic towers here, and then hotels, integrating with all the landscape. Yeah, and then this one will be the sport arena, facing towards the sea. And yeah, and then this will be a shopping, the plateau, and then 2 iconic tower up to 100 story. Okay. So this is the urban valley rendering. So you can see in the middle, it kind of like a urban park concept. So in the middle, there will be a villa. And then this is what I'm talking about, the church, landform church. And then the canal, you can see transportation hub. Yeah. So this diagram is even better to talk about the communities, because you can really see the boundary. How do we identify each of the communities? So this one will be the courtyard district. Everything is walkable, and then all this street actually is pedestrian priority. So the car only can access from the back. So here will be car free. Yeah. And then this one, this district is the corporate district. It's mostly for the offices, or the like Alibaba or Google will be having their HQ here. And then this one is a trade district. So mainly this one is more to business offices. Yeah. And then this one is the innovation and tech hub. There will be IT school, doing all the IT stuff, media tech. Yep. And then this one is artist village, the e-sport, the skate park. Yeah. And then we are doing residential here to service also other communities, because this one is fully like for mixed use, but then this one is purely residential, also giving them like a affordable housing area. Yeah. And then this one is create design corridor, and then artist street, and then there will be a market square here. So when we draw this all this area, actually you can directly just link everything together. So the museum will be here. You can link it to the market square, and then when you walk, you can walk to the church, and then you can also using the bridge and then go to the e-sport and go back to the transportation hub. And it's the same with island 2 and 3. Everything is interconnected. So for the island 2, this one will be the Broadwalk district. So this one will mostly about for tourism, like what I said just now. So yeah, and then island 2, this is the vertical zoo, the purple color one. All this purple color actually is the public facility. And then island 3, yeah. How do we identify the color actually? So for the yellow one, actually it's all the residential. For the blue one, it's all the commercial and offices. For the red one, it's mixed use. We want to make almost like mixed use everywhere, because we want the city to be walkable. Because what an efficient way is like you want to work and live in the same area because you don't want to transport that far. But then at the same time, each of the community is so interesting that makes you to walk during your free time. So encouraging people to walk more than using their own vehicle. Yeah. So this is some isometric diagrams to show the transportation hub, and also the connection with different the town hall, the hotel, and then by integrating the canal in the middle, there's also a water taxi. So in our master plan, just not just using the trackless electrical tram, we're also introducing water taxi and also water ferry to service the entire city. And also this is the courtyard district that I talked about. So all this path actually is car free. The car only can access from the back. Yeah. So it encourages people to interact because they feel safe to walk in the city. There's no there's no something that can feel dangerous about, because when you walk when you walk in Malaysia as well, you feel that the car somehow will just like hit you or something. Yeah. And then this one is the villa. This is the lowest FAR in the entire master plan, together with the church. So you can really see how the canal park bring a different lifestyle to the people, because we are not just talking about sustainable in power, in energy. We are talking about sustainable in lifestyle. Yeah. And this is the IT school, the media tech area, facing the Marina Edges. So for the for the edges, we got 3 different terminations. So the first one the first one is the FMB, second the non-FMB, the third one is the Broadwalk Marina Edges, something like this. So this is the art and design district. This is the museum, and then this is the barrage to hold all the fresh water. So it's also will generate electricity back to the city. Yeah. And then you can see there's a lot of event happening for architecture student or art and design stuff. This the rendering for the art and design district. And then this is the market square. So we wanted to provide a lot of green spaces for people to interact, to engage. Yeah. So some images for the market square. This is the theater, and then also the water filtration buildings. And then this one is more like a shopping F&B district. So this is the F&B district, and then connected with all the bridges. Yeah. So it's pretty safe to walk, because when you can see the yellow line actually is the trackless tram system, and then the pink one is the bicycle lane. So everything is protected, like we're putting the landscape in between of them. So everything is so safe to walk, to cycle, to live in. So some images. And then this is the tourism district with the building, and then casino at the back, convention center, And then we're also encouraging tourists to come by using cruise or yacht or something like that. Yeah. So some rendering. And then this is the island 2 with the fashion walk district. So you can see that all this is arcaded to protect people when they walk, protected from the sun, from the rain. And then we're introducing like a big plaza for people to bring all people together. Yeah. And then this one is the high street, something like a Tsim Sha Tsui in Hong Kong, the kind of living style, or maybe Myeongdong in South Korea. The concept of shopping street, yeah. This is the sport arena. Also, we're providing like a basketball court and then a big park for people to migrate to, yeah, some images during the night time. And then these two iconic towers in the island 3. So they will be something like a twin towers of the entire city. Will be mixed use. So all the offices, and then we're also providing residential. So each of the community composed of everything. There's offices, there's residential, there's mixed use. So this form a community because they are already self-sustained. And then a plateau facing the waterfront. And then you can see the sunset during evening, during sunset. Yeah, these are some images to show the feeling, the ideas, how it looks like. Yeah. And this one is the water sport. Yeah, so people tend to have leisure or some spare money to buy boat or whatsoever. So people staying here will have a boat and a water sport, they can swim. Yeah. And then this diagram is to show the transport diagrams. So the red one actually is all the tram system. The dark blue one is the water taxi, and then the light blue is the water ferry. So everything is interconnected, and then just like 5-minute walking distance from each other. So it makes the city so walkable, and then so not just efficient in work, also life and play and balance. So yeah. And then the next one is the green network. By introducing so much green in the city, actually we're also encouraging human activity. There's also a bird migration every year to the Manila in the Philippines. So it could be the habitat place for them to stay. And then along the edges, we're also providing mangrove to protect the shoreline. And then all this green area, it covers more than 80 hectares open space. So all this open space can be a square, yeah. And then there's some physical model that we did to study the density of the model of the city itself to see if this works. And then at last, I would like to show a video. Yeah. Is there a sound?
Yep, there is.
Okay.
Manila is the most beautiful and most vibrant city in our country. Every neighborhood has its own identity, its own history, its own community and character. From the churches and the plazas to Rizal Park and our museums, Manila is a growing and thriving city with the energy and desire to achieve its aspirations.
Horizon Manila embodies the passions and the dreams of every Manileño for a better Manila. It reimagines a new city for a new era.
Horizon Manila is an amazing place specifically planned for every Manileño. By integrating the future of Manila with the spirit of its existing neighborhoods, we have this incredible opportunity not just to build a new city, but to revive and transform the city of Manila.
It's about building a city with a remarkable abundance of public space and nature, 5 minutes or 3 kilometers away from the heart of our metropolis. This will be one of the most important investments in the future of our country, providing up to 400,000 new jobs in the coming decades.
We design a city for people, not for cars. So what our main design concept is like, we emphasize people, like as in human. So this is what a city really needs.
The 3 islands are bisected by a canal park that acts as the center for life in Horizon and connects all 3 islands. It recalls our roots as Tagalog people who settled along the banks of the Pasig River and acts as a green valley in the middle of the bustling city. This 4-kilometer-long canal, along with the 2 main dividing waterways and various reservoirs, will allow the city to be self-sufficient with fresh water and even allow it to help with the water scarcity problems of the city.
Any master plan for Manila has to start with its people and communities. We are not designing a top-down regimented master plan with homogeneous landmarks and streetscapes. We are creating an organic collection of 28 diverse and compact mixed-use communities that reflect the identity and character of Manila. We believe that communities are built by providing its people with a shared experience in the form of common geography and public space. This allows them to come together and form stronger bonds with the support of social infrastructure like streetscapes and plazas.
Over the last few years, we've been working on our ideas about social architecture. We've reimagined libraries, museums, bridges, and even medical facilities for Manila with a network of hyper-local, barrier-free spaces for our communities. At Horizon Manila, we're once more pursuing ideas to help build better communities for Manileños. We've imagined a collection of progressive, diverse, and compact communities that act like settlements strung along a winding canal park. Each community has its own narrative and story with unique localities and features that allow them to thrive and grow into extraordinarily livable and human communities. For us, this is the first step to building neighborhoods that can be as distinctive as the ones we grew up in.
Like what we did, we came up with these different typologies, different neighborhoods, communities. Eventually, it will come up out of this, and kind of diversified the experiences. And when you diversify these parts of the city, you create a whole diverse experience, which I think is an extension of the diversity we have in Manila for all its craziness and how wild it is.
It's not only about the buildings, it's more of the circulation and how the community will work together.
We need so much more open space and public buildings for our Manileños. Manila is the densest city in the world, and Mega Manila is one of the fastest growing and largest urban centers in the world with over 25 million people. Our plan will feature over 419 hectares of both green spaces and community amenities. These green and community ratios will form the backbone of our developmental guidelines for the city.
My aspirations for the city is actually pretty simple. I dream that it will be a livable city, which is inclusive for everyone.
The very interesting part in Horizon Manila is not just the community itself, but the idea of having a better transportation hub for everyone.
Horizon Manila will feature a comprehensive personal mobility system with extensive 3-line sidewalks and bicycle lane networks that ensures that everywhere in the city is within a 5-minute walk from the mass transit system. The central station acts as the main interchange for people coming and going from Horizon. through the various connections by road and rail, from the viaduct and through both the Gateway and Courtyard districts. The first island at Horizon will have an arts and culture district with the first world-class contemporary art museum in the Philippines. Bounded by cultural and design organizations, this will form the nucleus for one of the first communities in this new city. Over the years, it will grow eastward along the innovation corridor and connect with the growing tech hub with its MediaTek and fabrication labs and other IT facilities by the bay. To the south of the Arts and Culture District is the Market District, anchored by the open fair grounds and the Market Hall, while opposite the waterway on the second island will be the Tourist District, centered on a cruise terminal and entertainment and convention center, along with the twin Les Saisons skyscrapers and a boardwalk that leads to the Theater District. The second island centers on the Exchange District with its Fashion Walk, and the Wellness District with its medical center and the assisted living campus. These three districts bound the Canal Park and connects the three islands.
I see and I aspire to have the future of Manila to be a very vibrant.
The new westernmost point of Manila will be Sunset Drive with its premier residential towers looking out into the bay. It is the terminus of the Canal Park where everyone can enjoy the Manila Bay sunset with a nearby shopping district and up-down district.
Our cities must reflect the spirit of our times. What we can achieve for the generations to come is marked by the courage to take the next step, to move forward with the knowledge and understanding of society, culture, and technology. The city of tomorrow is defined not by the buildings that we build, nor by the systems and technologies that will continue to evolve. It is one where human society can reap the fruits of labor and technology to live an enjoyable and progressive sustainable lifestyle. It is a city that serves to uplift the individual diversity and human qualities of people and create stronger and more connected communities for a better Manila.
Horizon Manila will be the cosmopolitan city of tomorrow on the forefront of creativity and innovation, geared to serve and strengthen the vitality of our people. And so, I invite all of you to Horizon Manila and experience the city of Manila as a place where, together, we can build a better future.
Yep. Yeah, that's all. Sorry for taking a bit too long, Jason. It's your turn now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jeffrey, for the very fascinating presentation. I think a lot of us have been very surprised by how large the scale this project is and how comprehensive everything is. Okay, thank you again. And before we pass the time to Jason, our next guest, some introduction about him. So Jason joined Taylor's FNBE in 2010, March intake, and he went on to graduate in 2014. And instead of pursuing an architecture kind of pathway, he also he found a path that fits both his passion and skills. And he joined Epic Communities, and he worked for 4 years as a project manager, overseeing multiple kinds of community projects in both rural and urban settings. So without further ado, we will welcome Jason with his presentation.
Okay, y'all can hear me? Anna?
Yep.
All right, wonderful. Hello, everybody. Thanks, Jeffrey, for the very insightful presentation earlier. You talked a lot about very big stuff, but today my one very small stuff only. Anyways, I see, hey, why I'm the only one with the video here with the tea time flash. Where's the rest? All missing, is it? Okay, anyways, sorry if I'm not looking at the camera because I got two screens here. Anyways, so I'm gonna go on and explain what I will be talking about today. It's partially about community architecture, about community work and stuff, but a bit about the different pathway I took outside of architecture. And maybe it could come in handy for you as well, okay? So, of course, as introduced earlier, my name is Jason Liew. I did part 1 in Taylor's University, but I didn't do part 2. I worked in Epic Homes or Epic Communities. And let's see what's next. What's next here? Oh, okay. Can anybody guess what these 3 images, what do they mean? Come on lah, some interaction a bit lah, please. Anybody want to guess what this is? Anybody? Come on.
Back pain.
Student life. Nope. Don't think so deep lah. Simple ni. Simple ni this one. Any other guesses? Sorry, Miss D, you said something earlier. What was it?
Back pain.
Back pain? No, not back pain. Regina, you're unmuted, so I'm guessing you have a guess. What do you think it is?
I'm thinking.
Think harder. Farming? No, not farming. Ayo, don't think so hard lah. This is the brief background. So I'm just gonna go with my my brief background. Okay. Basically, when I was in Taylor's, I studied architecture. At that point, it was fun lah, right? I enjoyed it. I think most of you here are still in uni and you're still sitting for studio and whatnot. I enjoy a lot of it. But I think halfway through, I realized that, okay lah, I don't want to be architect anymore. Then I knew what life as an architect is like, and I feel like that isn't aligned with that isn't really aligned with what I want to be. So I decided to not continue architecture and not do part 2 and whatnot lah. So don't be expecting to hear any stories like, oh, nice, go to UK study, Australia study. No, after Taylor's and no more already, okay? So what happened after studio? Actually, before studio, before I move on to after what I did after I graduated, I'm also part of T.Ribe. T.Ribe, okay, let's see how many of y'all are here from T.Ribe. Give a reaction, some sort of reaction on that emoji thingy, that reactions. Okay, I see one fella only. One fella T.Ribe, two only. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Oh, the rest of you don't react on means not part of T.Ribe. You all don't get the chance. Miss D, you tak bagi chance dia all masuk, is it? Just a handful of people already. Okay, well, if you're not, you definitely should be, or you should find a way to be part of this. At this point now, it's very nice sounding team already, right? The T.Ribe, actually, I don't know how you pronounce it, I still don't know. And the main reason I'm highlighting this is because that one camp with this gang at back in 2013 was extremely fun. I think it was at least the highlight of that year or of my whole uni life probably. Mainly because of a few things. I think the few things that I really enjoyed from there was how loud it was and how fun it was. But outside of just being how loud and fun it was also extremely immersive, right? And what I mean by immersive is the experience you get from it isn't just go there and then some fella come and talk and then you listen and you learn and you go back and you go and apply in your assignments. No, it's really that you go out and you go and sketch outside, you go and build some bench or whatnot. It's very hands-on. It's a lot of things that we did during that camp. Of course, I can't say that every camp, every PAM architectural camp will be the same. And now with COVID, probably is going to be quite different already. But what I can say is that the camaraderie within the people who goes to these type of things really does show why a lot of people like the architecture life and why a lot of people like the studio life. And yeah, so I really enjoyed it. So if you get a chance to join anything like this, hopefully when the whole pandemic thing is over, it'll go back to normal. It's extremely fun. From this picture, you see, we were just playing that colored powder thing, and it's extremely fun. Anyways, so that was probably the highlight that I wanted to just bring up and blagak a bit because it was part of that first few gang that did all the fun stuff. Anyways, moving on. So I didn't do my part 2. But what I decided to do was to take on a different path that I actually considered it as my own personal part 2, right? And what I mean by my own personal part 2 is because I learned so much in these 2 years as a teacher. If you see in this, there's an actual picture of a classroom that I was in. I was teaching in a school for 2 years. Not sure if you all are familiar with a program called Teach for Malaysia, where you get the chance to go and teach in school. So anyways, I didn't do my part 2, but I was in school. And while I was there, I didn't completely throw away everything that I did with architecture. because I got to apply a little bit of what I did back in school. So for an example, one of the things I did was brought a lot of students out, my class students. I thought Seni is all one of the subjects I thought was Seni. I brought them out and I asked them to go and sketch lah, and they're like, apa lah, cikgu, boring lah and all. But have to lah, right? Architecture student, you have to do something like that lah, right? And as part of my a project that I took up was teaching the students how to do isometric drawings, and these are from 1, from 2 students who couldn't care less about drawing, like, except for those who liked it as a hobby. So I took it up, and the main reason I wanted to do that was because I know back then in architecture, as we all do now, sketching really helps you understand the scale of things, have to understand the space, and what best way to learn that than using isometric or axonometric drawings, right? So it was a crowd public funded. I think there are a few people even in here that helped me with this project, so thanks so much. But anyways, the point was, the point that I want to bring here is that even though I was in school, I was a teacher, I don't throw all that architecture thing that I learned back in studios lah. So same goes to you. If you have a passion or something you want to pursue, you can always merge all these things together. And that's exactly what I did beyond going in school lah. And this, maybe where I hit a bit about the community side of things lah, right? So what I did when I went on after the 2 years in teaching was I joined Epic Homes or Epic Communities. I'm not so sure if you guys have heard of it before, but basically I looked at it from the point of view that it is a mix of both community work, community architecture, design a bit here and there, but there's a lot of education related and there's a lot of people involved, right? So what I did there was I was a project manager with them, and the highlight of their feature project, their feature program they have is something called Epic Homes. And Epic Homes is basically a program where they get volunteers, untrained volunteers who have no background in construction, or have no probably even interest in building anything, who wants to work with the underprivileged or wants to give back in some way or another, come for a 3-day build to build from nothing into this, which is a home lah. This one is a 400 square feet home. Yeah. So yeah, so that's what it's all about lah. So what I did as part of this Epic Homes program, oh sorry, okay, yeah, what I did as part of the program was to help with the design side lah. So that one got a bit of the stuff that you guys are doing right now, SketchUp, as you can see here. There is yeah, this is also more SketchUp, and all this is compiled on InDesign. There's a lot of Illustrator work. Oh, this one AutoCAD. Wow, I get to use AutoCAD lah. Y'all, I don't know, you're still using AutoCAD now, or y'all move on to Revit and stuff. I didn't get to use Revit lah. But anyway, the point was, I get to apply all of these things while I was in Epic Homes, and you will get to see that everything that you learn right now in university will come in handy one way or another. Of course, these are very basic level, not Jeffrey level, do master plan, or that one a bit more pro one lah. Mine very basic one, simple work on lah. And it's extremely fun because part of the process in coming up with all these booklets and coming up with the process in building the home is working with the volunteers themselves lah. The volunteers are the ones who build the home, and they'll come back and they'll tell us, okay, you do it like that better, you do it like that better, and then we'll improve from there lah. So that's the feedback system that we work on at Epic Homes lah. And that's a portion of what I'm mostly will be sharing about in a bit, which is building with communities and volunteers. And this is the segment where I explain to you why this is such an exciting and amazing thing that you can be a part of, or you can spearhead in the future lah. So these are just a few highlighted projects that I just want to show here. And the reason I chose some of these projects is because I realized that in a way, although I'm not designing like what you do now, concept design in studio and whatnot, but I take it as an abstract design. What I mean by this abstract design is you're not designing in physical environment, but you're designing in the program side. So what that means is you're bringing people into the architecture side itself. So for an example, I think you're very familiar with this, right? You all seen this before, the one in the center. Please say yes, please. You're a Taylor student, right? No, okay, I see a few shaking head, nodding head. The rest all off camera. Anyways, yeah, so the one in the center here is right smack in the center of Taylor's University. And the principle behind it is not so much in the design aspect like that, the sunlight, all that. Of course, all those are involved within the design team itself. But the abstract design that I was talking about is bringing the people into the building process. And what that could look like is we train them beforehand just like a day or two of learning how to use the tools, explaining to them how the whole house is constructed, what is the bones of the structure, and what is the how do you clad the walls, how do you fit in the windows and roof and whatnot. And once they learn all of that, they go on the ground and they build it amongst themselves. So they are the one that take the hammer and take the drill and they go and do it themselves. So that's the exciting side of building with communities and building with volunteers. So you're sort of planning the whole work with them. And yeah, I think the outcome of that is that everybody feels like they're a part of that project. So another example here is on the most left here. We're seeing a lot of people putting this cloth thingy here, right? So this is an exciting example, mainly because this project is in Sentul, So Ex Dignity. Have you all heard of Dignity for Children? It's a refugee school. Anyways, long story short, actually the space was designed by Siksan, but he decided that he wanted not the full design to come out by him, and not like the usual designer do the design and then sub it out to a contractor to build it, who sub it out to another subcon, who sub it out to another Indon, and then the Indon do whatever he wants on site, right? So he realized that there is potential beyond just doing all that usual process. So he decided to leave the design of the space a little flexible and allowed for volunteers to decide how they want the space to look like, and let the client decide how they want the space to look like. And there's a conversation happening around that. So what you're seeing here is a bunch of volunteers who signed up to the build, and they decided like, hey, let's do this panel fit up with all the cloth because it's a sewing workshop area. So they take up all the spare cloth and then they go and sew, glue it on this plywood so that it can become like a backdrop to above the cupboard or something like that. And the point is, this is what you get with community architecture. This is what you get with working with people. You get the mix of different ideas, and you get a mix of different planning with other people, and you sort of maximize what many heads can do together. Yeah, moving on to the other projects that you can see here is KLAF. You all know the UM building. This one is the UM building, UM block, PAM building, my bad, in Bangsa. Yeah, so there was a event back in 2019, KLAF, Kuala Lumpur Architecture Festival. If you're familiar, then good. If you're not, then you will eventually get invited to one of them once you're a PAM member or LAM member or something like. And it's actually quite boring one. A lot of people just talk. I also wouldn't go. But this year, on that year in 2019, there was something exciting happening at the same time, because there was a bit of a design competition for building an Orang Asli home. Long story short, after the design competition, after the winners were chosen, we decided to build a portion of it. And same as I explained earlier with the micro house in Taylor's, it was also built together with the volunteers and together with the designer, the competition winner designer, together with all the people who has experience in building. And it's yeah, exactly the same as I've said earlier. It's a lot of people coming in together, putting their heads, their hands to it, and more importantly, their heart to it. And in the end, the outcome, although right, the end product may not be the best because you're not getting the best contractor, the best material or whatnot, but you realize that there is more value to it because you poured your heart and soul of sweat, of blood and tears into it. And there is a lot more value there. And it really does get the community around that project more excited. And what more to highlight than this one at the bottom here, which is the one with the painting. We're painting the ground. So this is in Kelana Jaya, near the stadium. Right now, the paint is almost gone already. I'll show you what this will become in the future. But basically, we got a bunch of people from the area and everywhere else as well to come in to just paint the road. And why they're doing this is because we wanted to highlight a project, the community center in PJ. And by getting everybody involved, they don't just read a brochure and like, oh, there's a community center. But they're actually there, they're sweating the whole day and they're painting, and they'll always remember that I was a part of this project. So similarly, as I explained earlier, that's really what you get, those kind of in a way a long-term effect on people or communities around there. Okay, see some chat here. Micro house Buru Casa, correct. Okay, another two more projects here is a toy library, similar things. We just wanted to highlight the type of projects that we take on, a toy library. And then another one here is actually a private build. And it's quite interesting. The person who wanted to build it decided that actually I don't want it to be built by contractors. I want my friends to build it with me because I want to invite them later to use the home anyways. So she decided to call her friends and then the friends go for the training and learn how to build. And then now her group of friends probably feel like they own a part of that home one way or another. And that's exactly what building a community is like, right? Okay, I think I talked a lot about that today. Next one is about gotong royong. You all know what gotong royong is. Anybody here like don't know what gotong royong is? You all off camera, I cannot tell. You all know, don't know. Never mind. I will pretend you all know because it is actually a very important concept in everything that I just spoke earlier about building with the community. Gotong royong basically means getting everybody involved, playing a small, simple role in the major task that they're about to do. And that's exactly the kind of spirit that I want to show or highlight here, where all the orang asli that we work with are all a part of the project, which is the epic home that I showed earlier. So they're all involved in building the footing. And what I can highlight from having this gotong royong spirit is that they take up more ownership in their home. So in the epic homes program earlier that I mentioned, of course, the people that receive the homes do not have to give any sort of monetary or do not have to finance the house at all. But what we require from them is for them to be involved by their sweat. We call it sweat equity. It's just another term for it. But basically that way they feel like they own the home because they built the footing themselves. And what byproducts you get from this is that they now learn how to do a different technique of building a home. They've used a jackhammer and they do this 2-meter pile into the ground for the foundation, for the footing of the home. And there's a lot of these byproducts, as I mentioned earlier. Not only do they now learn something new, they also now know more about their neighbors, and they now know how to level the ground. They now know how to measure, how to read the measuring tape, and there's a lot of additional byproducts that you get out of this gotong royong or building with the community or building with volunteers. And that's exactly what I've experienced when I was in EPIC. But what it actually looks like almost on a day-to-day or a weekly basis is on this top right. Just a lot of sit down and they're just listening to you and they're trying to digest what the hell is happening. Am I receiving a free home and what am I going to get out of it? And eventually they will get to this stage where they get to do it. And eventually they'll get the home building with the volunteers themselves. All right. So I talked very fast. Actually, 5:07 already. Means I still got a lot of time, but I don't have that many slides, but I will go on. All right. So in the end of the day, this is quite specific, right? You'll notice that all the projects that I mentioned were very specific to people who have money to set up the projects, of course, to clients who want to fund you to do something exciting like this, or if you have the money yourself to want to do it, right? But that's not always the case, because there are so many ways to work with communities. And what's important is finding that balance. So of course, some of you here are going to become architects in the future. Some of you are going to join a firm or even build your own firm and start from the ground, create your own studio or whatnot. And there's a lot of ways you can implement what I've just explained to you earlier into the into the projects that you either take on or you come up with in the future. And what that could look like is, for an example, if you look at some of the slides that I actually just copy paste in your what's important is mixing what the people want with the environment, and that way in the end you get an experience. So that's the bigger picture, and Jeffrey has explained that very well earlier in the master plan. But don't be fooled by the scale of it. You can do it at a very, very small scale, and what that could look like is small activities. So for an example, you want to work with people, and how do you want to engage with people? There are many types of activities you can use to engage, to get their interest, to get their buy-in into the project that you're taking on. And that could look like getting them to vote on something, getting them to draw, getting them to speak up, just collecting information on the ground. And don't think of it as a politician going and talk and hearing feedback, but there are a lot of manners of engagement you can do. That's definitely a deeper study that I won't go into. But yeah, that is exactly something you need to sort of think about. An approach that EPIC likes to use is called vision planning. So it's a more long-term plan, basically a long-term plan to create an experience on that project instead of just a physical product. There is an experience inside it where everybody is involved. So I won't go into the details of that. You can definitely check out EPIC. .my EPIC committee. Just Google it, you'll find out more about those things when you Google it. So yeah, what it could also look like is this bottom two things here is part of this thing we created called Spark Cards. This is a funky name, but the cards basically is a deck of engagement tools that we want to sort of show anybody that they can do exactly what we are doing here, right? And inside here is things like empathy mapping, co-strategizing workshops, and there's just like a bunch of steps on how to conduct these activities and what you need and how many participants and all the details behind the activity. So the purpose of creating something like this, or the purpose of starting up an idea like this is so that instead of Epic being the only people, or not the only or being a small group of people doing it in our context, everybody can do it. So if you find out how to do it within your community, then you go and do it yourself. That's the idea. Right? You are the leader of your own community and you take charge of where your community is going to go in the future. Right? So why do all of these things? What's the pros and cons? I mean, what's the purpose you want to work with the community in the end of the day? Right? Of course, I've highlighted a lot of really, really good stuff. But that is just the product you get from doing it at that point. Eventually comes many more opportunities. So what that could look like is a few examples here. The first one you'll see on the top left is that road painting one earlier. So if you go to Kelana Jaya, you'll see that the road, the color all gone already. But of course, the people who painted that road will now be involved in this building behind here, which is the community center. And that's the purpose of getting people involved. And then this small little picture here, I don't have a better picture, so I just chose this small one and I sengaja put very small. It's working with Bond Estates. Bond Estates is a developer. So why is this a highlight? Is because now at our scale, we're very small, right? We work with Orang Aslis and we work with small communities, but we get Bond Estates to be involved with it. And now we have a much larger voice, right? So the opportunity you can get from doing something small like that and getting noticed by doing small community projects is that bigger entities out there, bigger corporations can notice what you have done and realize that there is a lot of value in that and can bring all those skills that you've applied into a larger scale. So we're working with the Bond Estates to help with their community side of their 2 or 3 high-rise condos. That's still ongoing. The timeline obviously has been delayed. But the point is, those are kind of opportunities that you can get. This one, of course, if you were at the KLAF, you'll see that we built up the competition design up just to showcase what Orang Asli homes could look like. And I think this is I'm highlighting this mainly because this is designed by some random fella who has not worked with Orang Asli before, and that person now gets to see what his design on papers look like in real life, right? And if you can imagine all the designs you've done in studio, you get to see it in real life, how big it actually is, and you're part of building it. That whole process, I cannot showcase in a picture. It's something beyond it, right? And it's something that only building with volunteers or only building with people, you'll get a chance to see. And these 2 pictures, the one at the top and the one at the bottom here, these guys are Orang Aslis, right? And they are usually limited, they get limited access to the types of opportunities that are offered to us in the urban areas, right? So creating this type of programs or working with the community just allows them to propel and go further, right? So you'll see on the top here, this guy is in a Zoom call with a bunch of people from Singapore because he's part of this program where he's a tour guide to bring people into the jungle and showcase Orang Asli culture. Whereas this lady and this man here at the bottom picture here, they are part of this potting, they're part of this company called the Asliko. If you get to read up on it, go and check it out. Basically, they build up pots, they create soap, they go and sew face masks, and they get all these amazing opportunities because these 2 people are not part of Epic, but they are builders. They've built with Epic before, and they're part of this building community, and they enjoy it so much that they realize that, hey, wait, I can give opportunities to not just my friends who are the builders, but the Orang Aslis also. And that's something that you only get if you're down on the ground working with the beneficiaries or working with the communities itself. This one, maybe you're familiar, just a park, proto park. Actually, I put this picture, I tell you to be honest, I just to fill up that space. So I don't have that much to explain about it, but it's just a park where a lot of people came in, they prototype it together, we get everyone's ideas. Very similar process as I explained earlier. I don't want to bore you with it. Okay, so I am going to move on to the last slide, which is applying it yourself. So what does all these things I just told you, how does it impact you right now? Or how will it impact you in the next 2, 3 years, next 5 years? Is everything that I've explained here, actually you also can do one. Anybody can do this, right? And what that could look like is, think about issues that are around you, or think about hobbies that you take on right now, or passion that is close to your heart, right? Let's say you really like dogs. Let's say you really like pets, cats, right? Or let's say you're into gardening. Then go and take it up itself, right? Go to your nearby garden and set up a community garden, and you can do that. Just go up to every person who's jogging there and speak to them, ask them their interests, and just really reach out. That's all it takes. It doesn't take that much. It really does need you to engage with the people around you. And once you get the engagement of people around you, your strength is in unity, right? So it's really, really very simple. So actually, I don't want to talk so much. I already talk a lot already. So I need somebody else to talk now. So can I have somebody to accompany me? Anybody who just want to volunteer? I just got a few questions and just to see if this is really doable or not.
Sure. You can talk to me and Aloysius.
Okay, Justin. In your community, do you see any community efforts being done around you? Do you notice that there are a bunch of neighbors doing some things together?
For mine, no, not really.
No, not really. So do you notice any issues that are near your neighborhood?
We have a lot of public parks or like areas that nobody uses. It's just there and there's like very low maintenance, but people don't spend time within their own area because my community lives like next to a highway. So people usually just travel to their work. They don't stay in our environment. So yeah.
Okay. So I see that's great that you have sort of a reason behind it, but are you sure everybody thinks that way? Are you sure that everybody who wants to go to a park decides that, you know what, I don't want to go to one nearby because got highway near here? Or have you really spoken to every single one of them?
No, not really.
So do you think if you get to speak with every single one of them, you'll get to identify what are the reasons they don't use the park?
Yeah. That will probably be the reality.
Yeah, thanks so much, Justin. That is exactly what I'm trying to explain here. And that's all it takes. That's all it takes for you to just go out and speak up to somebody and find out exactly what's the causes behind any issues that you're facing around your community, and just start small, right? All it starts is one public park, one small little garden, or that longkang that it keeps getting stuck inside there, or anything at all, really. The sky's the limit here. But the point is, just apply it around you first, around exactly where you are, around where your university is, where your school is, around your workplace, anywhere at all. You can definitely do it anywhere. But if, let's say, you're looking for something that that is outside of you, let's say something that you're not sure, you don't really know how to move from there, there is always people who have done it before outside, right? And you can always just work with them or volunteer with them. So this one is obviously a bit of a shameless plug. So there's a website out there called sedunia.me. There are many volunteering opportunities inside there. You can go and check it out later. If you want to check it out now, also can. The point is, there are a lot of missions that people set up there. And what do these missions look like? Help build a shelter for this stray dogs that always come to this area. And this lady just wants to build a shelter. She doesn't know how to do it at all. So she decides to set up a mission to ask people to join in. And then she decides to set up a campaign to ask for donation. So once the donation is filled, the mission is filled with people, and they go down to the ground and build the shelter. And done. That's it. The shelter is now built for the dog. Then it's just a matter of who's going to maintain it in the long term. That's it. And that's as simple as it is. So if you don't know where to build a dog shelter or where to go, you can always just go there, go to sedunia.me and go and find out which mission interests you the most or which is close to you. There are reading programs for children who are below their reading level. You can go and volunteer with them and coach somebody or tutor somebody to be able to read. Right, and there are a lot of other building stuff, mostly building stuff, because that's mostly what I've been working at and what Sedunia sort of highlights. But beyond that, I think Sedunia also have like beach cleanup. They have river cleanup, and there are a lot of awareness stuff. It's really a huge range of things there. So I strongly advocate for all of you to just go home and do whatever it is that interests you, but just do it with the people around you. Don't do it alone, right? That is all I have today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jason, for the really enjoyable presentation. It gave us a lot of insight on how to get involved with the local community, especially the ones around us, and not just as students, but as neighbors and as local communities. I think it was really helpful, not just for me and for everyone else. Okay, so we're about to start our Spill the Tea segment, where we want to have a conversation and some topics related to their presentations. So during this segment, feel free to drop your questions in the chat. But other than that, we encourage you more to open up your cameras, unmute yourselves, and we can have a conversation together. Okay, this is what it's all about. So to get the segment started, I think one really strong word and strong idea from both of their presentations is the community. It was always about the community, for the community, and even better, by their own words, by the community. So I'm gonna ask both of you, how is it like? Maybe this would be better to ask Jeffrey first. Is there like a difference working with Malaysian community and the community in Manila or Philippines?
Actually, the community, the difference, like I mean, humor is all the same. What's different is actually just the culture, and then maybe the language we don't understand. Like for me, when I reach Philippines, I don't even know how to speak Tagalog, but slowly by you living like together with them, living their lifestyle, starting to blending in with their community and culture, you're starting to realize that actually it's all the same. People need to feel safe. Like they need to feel like they're being taken care of from being from someone else. So what's really amazing is like since we are doing the municipal community facility, also Jason doing like small project. Sometimes I realize that actually small project does more impact than big projects. So because it's two different things. Okay, so like small projects, you can see the impact like in the short term is really fast. But like project like in a big scale, you need times to see the effect. So actually what we can do with our limited power, we can start with something small and then you just try to think like us when I stay in Philippines, I have to think myself as a user. So you have to treat yourself as a user. You are the one who using the building, the architecture over there. So you will realize what problem actually is they are facing right now. So that's how you come up with all the solution that can relate back to the community and society. Yeah.
I think it's very similar to what Jason is doing. It's like there's like a very personal approach to the projects.
Yeah. You have to be one of them, like to understand the issue, yeah, and then to start from there.
Let's see. What about Jason? Do you think there's like a difference working with students and adults now that you have some teaching experience and also your later work with Epic?
No, I think working with students and adults are actually relatively the same. Of course, different contexts will have different answers. But I do think that yeah, from student onwards already, once you're at least in high school onwards, and how you treat adults, other than the way you speak, the engagement activities are always quite similar, and I think everybody just enjoys the kind of attention that they get when you're given a chance to speak and whatnot. So both ways for students and adults. So very similarly.
Okay.
All right, so my turn, I guess. I'll ask a question. I was wondering because, for both of you, you take very big risks in terms of your career paths. Like, for example, Jason obviously didn't take part 2 and then went on to forge his career path. And also Jeffrey, we were talking about how, we were encouraging Jesse and Erin about, what they would do after they've completed their studies, And I would want to ask, what kind of advice would you give to students who are scared to choose a path in the future, who don't want to take the risk? Anyone can answer first?
Jason? I go first?
Okay, yeah, this is obviously for me, right? I think there is nothing to be sort of afraid of, right? There are a lot of people. You'll find out later also when you grow up a bit more. A lot of your friends who studied something else and then did something else and then become successful in another path also, right? And there are a lot of people right now itself who you hear this all the time lah, but like people are doing the flirt in this Steve Jobs all didn't graduate also, and this flirt didn't graduate also, and then they became this and that and whatnot. And you'll see that not to say it doesn't matter lah, but you will really apply what you learn one way or another lah. There's a place for everything that you've learned to come in some point in your life lah. May not be very technical use, but there is some knowledge or some application involved in the future lah. So I think a bit like what I showed earlier with working in schools. I don't think there are many other ways I can implement what I've learned in architecture school in a classroom itself. But there are ways, and there are ways of thinking that you will develop anyways. So yeah, really just don't be afraid. Just do it only. If you're thinking about it already, if you think about it enough already, means you really want to do it. Really. So just do me. Unless your amma appa say cannot, then good luck lah.
For me, I think okay, what advice can I get actually is step out of your comfort zone. Because for example, for me, when I study architecture, the 2 weeks before I enroll the architecture program, I don't even know what architecture about. So that moment, I believe some of you also have that problem. Like after you graduate from your SPM, you are lost. You don't know what to study. So actually, it gives you just a path for you to kickstart, to know what do you like, what do you really like the most. So actually, for me, I think if you study architecture, you don't really have to be architect. That's what my dad told me. You just choose your subject you want to study, but in the end, your path might change. Just do whatever, like something you like, and also you can earn money. That's the most. It's just life, right? You don't need to be so serious. If you can be happy and then earn money, why not just do it? You don't just force yourself into a box. I study architecture, I have to be an architect. But in the end, you are not happy. But so what's the point in the end, right? Maybe in the end you got the money, but then maybe in the end you are not happy and then you don't have money. That's even worse, right? Yeah. Just try to discover more talent, like your inner self. Let it go, release it.
That's very, very, very good advices. I think one thing that really drives both of you in your careers now is your passion for the local communities, and you can see that from like how you engage with them and how you involve them in your project. So one thing I'm really interested in, there's a lot of talk about how you guys brought in architectural stuff or like all these projects into the locals. But what is that one thing that the community taught you? What do you learn from them? Maybe there are some special experiences you all can share about.
What can they learn from us? Is it your question?
What did you learn from the community?
From the community.
Yeah, so I'll go first with two sides to this answer. The first is with the volunteers. So these are the people who are mostly from the urban area. I think the biggest thing that I learned here is that you really cannot judge a book by its cover, right? There are really so many people out there who are very, 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 very capable in doing something you just did not expect at all. So I think, for an example, there was an 80-year-old, 80-year-old climbing up the scaffold to go and install the roof before. I mean, that has happened before. Whereas there's a 16-year-old who's still in school, even for SPM also. He's already been on 3 builds already and wants to become a specialist and wants to become a master builder. And you really cannot take it for granted that a lot of people have things inside them, but you just cannot see from the outside. So that's something I noticed from the volunteers. Of course, everything in between from the young and the old. There are some who are accountants, work in banks and super office flair, but they are super, super expressive outdoors as well. So that's something that I noticed with the volunteer communities. Whereas another community that I worked a lot with is the Orang Aslis. As for this one, I'll notice that in the end of the day, as much as you would think that they are of different race, they grew up differently, they get different access to different opportunities. But deep down inside, as human beings, they want exactly the same thing. And I think that's something that Jeffrey showed in his video earlier, that they're just humans. They want safety for their family, they want wealth for their family and their neighbors, and they want hygiene, they want the exact same things as you do, just in a slightly different context, obviously. But you will realize that there's a lot more similarities between your own neighborhood and their neighborhood than you would think. There are a lot of cultural differences, of course, but yeah, in the end of the day, they are human as well. So there's a lot of similarities. That's something I learned from being on the ground.
Okay, so for me, actually, what can I learn from that? Actually, I learn about life. Like, okay, let's say we talk about pandemic, COVID-19. Actually, who is the one who prone to COVID-19? Actually, it's the unfortunate one, the poor one. Even even when we talk about community, we are talking about how to bring in equality. Everyone have to be equal. So actually, we are really helping the poor one, unfortunate one, because in the world, the rich one just a minority. The majority actually is the middle class, the low class income. We are designing for them. So what I can learn from them, actually, they are really easy to be certified, meaning that they just need to getting attention from the government, from the people. There's something people doing things for them, they will be really happy. So as simple as that, just like they are being valuable. Like, I'm part of the society, I'm part of the community. You need to give them a sense of belongings to them, giving them that I belongs here, I'm part of the team, I'm part of the people. So I think this is what really important, because the rich people doesn't like, it's not, we cannot say we don't really we can't really ignore them, because they are already on top. So who should we take care of actually is those who unfortunate, and then with not so like they can't even fit themselves. All these actually small things I learned about life. Yeah, actually pretty simple, just like, yeah.
I see, I see. So one of the things, one of the questions we received from the forms is about how you actually balance this social design, architectural design with its functions. And do you take any precedence, or how do you adapt to its context and also the current situations? Anyone want to go first?
Okay, I'll go first this one. So sorry, just want to confirm the question. You were saying, how do we design it versus its functions, is it?
Yeah, how do you balance its social design and also its function?
So I think firstly, I think I'll just briefly explain how Epic usually takes up what are the design principles that Epic take up. I think there are sort of three aspects that is important. Number one is obviously it has to be contextual, right? So I think that's something that we all have learned and applied in all our projects. Contextual meaning contextual to the climate, contextual to the resources available near you, the natural resources around you, and also respecting the culture of who's going to live in it and who's around it as well. So that's an aspect, a very important aspect. Secondly is modularity, and I think this word is maybe a buzzword, everybody seems to say it, right? Modular is good, and really it is good mainly because in small community projects, the kind that we take on, we want it to be able to be applicable at as many places as possible. So we want it to be able to be scalable. So in terms of its function, I don't think that affects too much, because in a modular design principle, you really can turn the function and the design, the form, you can sort of merge it into one. Of course, it may look a bit more repetitive, it may look a bit more boring, but what you do get is definitely a lot of function, and you get a lot of the social aspect behind constructing a building. And thirdly would be affordability. This is obviously nothing to do with function or getting the social aspect of the design, but it's really just allowing access for everybody to do. So anybody at all can afford this, no matter you're rich or you're poor, or you're what race or you're what gender, anybody can afford it and everybody can do it themselves. So that's sort of the three things. So I wouldn't say there is any clash in terms of function to the social aspect. There is a bit of clash in the beauty or the aesthetic portion versus the design, or however complicated the design may be, because when working with communities, when working with volunteers, you do know that none of these people, or very few of these people, are highly skilled. So you're restricted, a bit more restricted to something less complicated and less complex in terms of its design. So if you want to do a community project, you don't go and do some funky archway that tilts this way, and then at night it'll tilt that way, and then nighttime it will become like that, daytime become like that. It won't really, it's not something that is an important highlight. Yeah.
Okay, instead of talking about function, I would like to replace function with program. I think program is much more better word to use. because in like society aspect or whatever, I think the program is really important, and also the interaction between the people is really important, because let's say, for example, the problem, let's say a heaven cannot be a heaven if you work there every day, and or the other way around, because I think there's a limit to do what the design can do if you are alone and confined to one place for an extended period. So this because even great places cannot fulfill the need to socialize, roam freely, or be in the nature. So I think program and the interaction between the people is really important. Yeah. So everything human first.
I see. Okay, we will move on with some questions from the participants here in the chat. So one from Dr. V. Can you share times that you have failed and you need to bounce back? How do you deal with with the failures?
Shout and then come back to work.
It's very relatable.
Yeah, just shout. But in the end, you still have to face the problem. There's no escape. You can escape, just quit architecture. Yeah.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, shout. Make sure you shout properly, don't shout like that. No, you really kawan lah.
You can even jump, but come back lah after.
Yeah, don't jump down and then come back up on. No, that one. I think I'll add to that also, which is, I think in some of the projects that we take on, the timeline is extremely short, the budget is extremely low, and the expectation at the beginning is that it's okay, confirm will fail part of it on. And setting that expectation that, you know what, it's okay, I know I'm going to fail, but there is a bigger goal that I'm trying to get to. And this small little failure, it's okay one, and just expect it. So once you expect it at the beginning, when it actually does happen, you're not so heavily affected by it. So I think in the context of, let's say, in your studies or something, you know that out of 5 subjects, 1 or 2 subjects is not going to be extremely good. You can't hit all 5 A's or something like that. So if you see that coming already, when it actually comes, it doesn't bring you down that much anymore. Of course, not asking you to fail any subject or whatnot, not saying that you just focus on one and don't do the rest. But the idea is that you set your own expectations and know where the standards draw the line. So when you eventually hit that point, anything that actually happens doesn't bring you down too much. Right? Yeah.
I want to add on something about this. So as us, sometimes we architecture or architecture student, right? We tend to fall in love with our own design. We love our design so much. So that's how you feel, because you are so defensive, and then you don't even listen to all the critics, to all the comments. That's what we need actually. We need to be open up. We cannot just fall in love with our own design and then living in our own world. That's not how architecture works, because we need to have receive opinion from other people, from her side, from maybe from government or whatsoever, from the client side. So there must be a reason why they say something like this. You need to find the reason. And then so by doing that, you can just like modify your design a bit, but then the concept's still there. So it's like a kind of like a win-win situation. So, and then both of you will be happy.
Understandable. I think we can look forward to going back to campus and shout at the lake.
Yeah, I'm swim.
Eat the goose lah. The goose still there. When eat
Too old already. How many years already?
I got baby. I eat the baby.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a lot of babies.
Don't eat the baby goose, please. No.
Okay. There's another question from Ryan Chung. So this is for 2 questions for Jason. The first one is, when do you drop the beard? And also the long hair, I think. And the second question is, what ways has COVID-19 impacted small community architecture projects? And are your predictions for the future? What are your predictions for the future for these communities?
Okay. Yeah, I had to cut my hair and beard. Actually, just to explain also, I'm currently not with Epic Homes, Epic Communities anymore. Of course, I'll still probably be involved in their projects, but not as an employee, as a staff. I'm with another organization now. But yeah, so that's why I had to cut it off. So it was actually very recent. That's why, unfortunately, I couldn't give a nice picture for that poster thingy. It had to be an older picture, which was when it was long hair and all. Yeah. Secondly, what ways have COVID-19 impacted? I think there's two sides of it, right? The first side is obviously you have to understand that community projects, as nice sounding as they are, in a pandemic like that, it is very low priority lah. It is not something that we'll focus on anymore lah, right? Providing safe homes for everybody is something that's important, but getting volunteers to come and do it together and all that in a pandemic obviously is not doable, and it is not something that is a priority anymore. Hence, a lot of small community projects, like all the funky ones lah, build funny things like that, or get together and whatnot, obviously would be postponed, and generally these small communities would suffer a little bit lah. And you will know that also lah. I'm sure your friendships with your your classmates have been affected a little bit, all right, from being able to see them almost every other day to now only see them online on call only, all right. So it's things like that lah that definitely is affected. But also on the bright side, the positive impact is that now with existing small communities, from whatever project that has been that was created years ago or months ago, there is sort of that strength in that unity already, right? So there'll be one or two people who stand up and try to help and support the rest lah. So what this could look like is as an example of I'm not sure if you've heard of BGBG. There's an organization out there called BGBG. They basically do a lot of later you can Google lah, I don't tell everything lah. Anyways, they created a program to get volunteers in to build PPE, right? All the face shield and mask and glove, I don't know what else lah. But the point is they reached out to Epic and we supplied I think more than 50 volunteers to come for who knows how many days lah, 3-4 weekends in a row. And of course at that point it was all considered as a crucial work lah, right? So roadblock all the past lah. But the point is, because of the strength of the community in these small communities, they are able to produce hundreds of thousands of PPE, just hot glue gun together, face shield and whatnot, right? And pass it to the hospitals. So there is two ways you can look at it. One is it is negatively impacted. The pandemic does not allow for better interaction, but you can also get positive impact from it. And what are my predictions for the future of these communities? I think similarly, no matter what pandemic comes in or no matter what happens, if you're integrated well with the people around you, or the orang asli, for example, if they already have a nice gotong royong spirit and whatnot already, it will always be a positive outcome lah. You will always sort of have leaders coming in from there and look for good opportunities that can share with everybody, and all the good things lah. So from COVID wise, some will really look damn good, but some will suffer a little bit and start to stagnate lah, and they can't interact with each other lah. So that's what I would say lah.
One thing I noticed about architecture is very, very community based. Once you are isolated from everyone else, it's very hard to work, especially in architecture. Okay, then the question for Jeffrey by Ryan again. What have you learned from designing COVID shelters, and how does it apply to your architecture, if at all? Personally, I would like to know this as well.
Okay, so what have I learned actually is okay, there's one thing, but it's really how to say. Okay, this emergency quarantine facility, we are doing fundraising, right? So all the money is coming from the public. So how can you do it? It's we have to find all the materials. We design based on the material, basically. So without wasting material, we have to do everything exactly to the size. So let's say we have a plywood coming from the factory, everything is 8 feet. So we have to design our facility with 8 feet, and then with the plywood 2x4, and then that's the maximum height we can go, without adding or removing any extra material, because all the money is from the public. We tend to use more money to build extra emergency quarantine facility than wasting it. So that's what we learn actually. It's really important, even for your future practice as well. How do you can save money for the client or even for the company? It's also, actually it's a big winning point for you to get your project or in the future, or how do you do it? Also, in terms of environment, you are reducing the wastage of the material. Actually, you are being part of them. You are helping the environment. Yeah.
So it's cost and materials, I see.
Yes. So you design based on the material that's available. so you don't waste anything.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
All right, all right. Thank you very much. Another question, this one is from one of our own, Erin. Question to Jeffrey, or even to lecturers or students here. How long is too long of a break to do something non-architectural? Even though, you want to pursue masters, you want to take a break and do something else. For example, being a barista. How long would you advise students to work for archi firms before continuing the masters?
Okay, so for the first question, how long is too long for a break? If you want to be you want to learn how to make a coffee, you can learn it now. You don't need to wait for you to be graduated. So you can do both at the same time. So if like learning coffee can make you happy, just do it. You just have to manage your time, because if you're doing something happy, you don't feel like it's wasting time. So you can manage really well, right? And then after graduating degree before continuing with master. So this one is really subjective. For me, I think after you graduated, you need to work for a bit. So to see the real world of architecture, because it's so different. Because when we design something in school, we don't need to think about cost, management, time, everything. We just need to looks nice. There's a program, nice program. Everything makes sense. That's okay already. But in real life, there's so much thing bring you back. It's reality. So I think it's good for you to gain some experience first before you study your master. So you have a strong foundation to face your future. Because once you graduated your master and then you are looking for a job, but you don't have working experience, there's also another bad side of it. So, but if you have both, and then you got a bigger chance to you got something to show your employer, your boss or something. Yeah, it's more convincing for me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Maybe I also want to ask, since after your degree, Jeffrey, how long did you maybe work outside before pursuing your masters?
Actually, I started to work in construction since I was 12. So and also when I studying my bachelor, I have my own office doing renovation and design and build project. So I started since during my semester 6. So I know that I need to gain more experience before I do something. Okay, so also to build my networking, everything. So yeah, it's up to you. Are you willing to do this, step out of your comfort zone? Because SEM6 is so tense, right?
Yeah.
And so stressful. There's so many submissions. But if you can manage it well, I think it's okay. And then when you look it back, it's like nothing. I did it, just like nothing. Just a small thing. Maybe it's hard for now, but then when you look it back.
Yeah, I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah.
I'll try to remember you and I'll push through my semester 6 with all this. Thank you.
Yeah.
For our next question, I think we can have Jiro to ask and join the conversation.
Okay, hi, Mr. Jeffrey. I'm Jingro.
Hi.
And I have two questions for you. First one is what do you think about for the potential function of emergency quarantine center after this COVID pandemic? Is there any chance to transform it into a permanent building for other usage? Then the second question is why would you choose to develop your career in Manila, Philippines? Because normally people will choose to work in UK or Singapore, that kind of, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll answer your first question first. So what's the potential function of emergency quarantine facility after pandemic? Before this design, actually we have used this design for the pavilion for Anthology Festival last year in 2019. So actually it's the same design, and then we reuse the design and make it into temporary quarantine facility. And then we were building a lot of emergency quarantine facility in the camp, like Navy camp, Army, and Air Force. So later on, they can convert this facility into boot camp, so they can train their soldiers. So that's how we how to be flexible. So actually, they are using this as a training center once the pandemic is okay.
Okay, thank you.
And for the next questions,
Oh, I didn't type it out, but it's like, why do you choose to work in Philippines?
this question is a bit, I don't know, should I say? Okay. After I graduated in Germany, right, a lot of people asking me why would you work in Europe? There's everyone's doing like there's a nice country to live in, but for me it's so different. My thinking is, why would you go to a place with so many smart people? Why would you want to fight with them? Why not you go to a third world country? There's more chance for you to show your skill, and then there's more thing to build. You know, in Europe, even though you have a residential project, it's almost the biggest project you ever have in your office. But unlike in third world country, you got so many chances. You can, like, for me, I design hotel, like museum, master plan, all these. You've got a lot of potential, and then there's no much competition, and there's more room to grow for you to grow. Yeah, and then you can keep experimenting things you can ever think of. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thanks for your answer.
I think I have a personal question for Jason. Actually, back when I was in high school, one of my Form 5 biology teacher, she was also under this program from Teach for Malaysia. And she actually created a very quite a significant amount of impact in my life because for one thing, she just graduated from degree, and so she was really sort of close to us compared to like the older teachers. And second thing is she got me interested into like teaching, you know. And so I want to ask on your experience with Teach for Malaysia, and do you enjoy the whole experience teaching, and how is it like being a teacher after all these years as a student? And then are there like any memorable moments? Would you encourage all these kind of things?
Wow, now talk about Teach for Malaysia. Yeah, that's actually where I'm looking at now. I just started a new job with Teach for Malaysia this month. Anyways, yeah, definitely. So if you really like education, if you like what it's for, and if you enjoy talking a lot and going in front and working with people, I would highly encourage you to either apply with Teach for Malaysia in the future, or find other ways that you can apply it. Tuition centers, tutoring your neighbor, your cousins, or many other ways that you can be involved as a teacher. Like you can be your own teacher. So yeah, so I would definitely highly encourage if you I think not just to you, right? Sort of now that you could potentially look at that as either a career path or something on the side, a hobby, a passion on the side. Same goes to anybody else who have anything like Jeffrey mentioned earlier. You just go and learn the coffee making now. Who knows, in the future you're an architect, but you open a cafe. So actually, one of my batchmate just opened a cafe, I think a year ago. And she's still working. She's designed the Azure HQ or something. Yeah, she has her own cafe because she really loves this thing lah. So you can actually do both of it together, three of things together, and there's a lot of basically avenues lah for you to pursue what you really enjoy lah. So just briefly explaining my own experience as a teacher back then for 2 years, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I loved it. I love being in front of the classroom and working with all the kids who, some were eager, some were not so eager, and trying to get more people to be eager. I'll go really deep into talking about teaching experience. Yeah, I think if you want to be a teacher or you want to try it out, definitely go and do it lah. Highly encourage it. You will know almost immediately once you're in the front of a classroom whether you enjoy it or not lah. But of course, there are a lot of things that I won't immediately tell you lah. All the paperwork that comes with it, or the exam, or the homework and all that. I mean, it's all part and parcel lah. Same like architecture lah. The fun part is the design, is the pitching to your lecturer in the studio and all. But the not fun one is doing the bloody. Actually, got any building structures lecturer here? I don't have, in building science or whatever. I know sometimes you don't like doing all the reports or writing essays or whatever, but it's part and parcel. So if you really like it, you like the whole package. So yeah, try it out.
see. Thank you. Due to our timing, I think we have a few more questions, but we won't be able to cover all. I think one last one for both of you is okay, not last one, but one for both of you is most of the projects is by Ang Jia Chin. Most of the projects you showed in the slides were voluntary works. So considering it as a future path or a career that we might take, do you get paid for the projects?
So yeah, correct. Speaking on behalf of two parts, right? First part is obviously from Epic as an employee. I do get paid. It's a full-time job as well. So there is opportunities for you to either join one or create your own firm that focuses on community projects lah. And you will get paid lah, because there are paying clients who are looking for your type of work lah. Just like Epics lah. And then on the other side, as a volunteer lah. So think of it as a more long-term thing. So I think a story that I can tell is there was once a builder who was, I think he was working in insurance only, and he okay lah, not to say hated the job or whatnot, he just worked for the sake of working lah, right? And he built epic homes and he went up all the way to master builder. Obviously he built more than like 20-30 homes already, and he built so much and he enjoys that hands-on process so much that now he has he and his wife opened up a woodworking studio. So now they set up they do workshops lah to train students, couples, female, anybody lah to how to do woodworking and how to work with machines and tools lah. So yeah, your passion can become a long-term project, but don't expect to be paid on the spot and right now lah. Don't think that every opportunity you get, you must get paid right now and get paid a lot for it lah. So sometimes you have to sacrifice a bit lah. So there is money to be earned elsewhere, and volunteering is not the place to earn the money lah. But think of it as a long-term investment where you volunteer to improve yourself, to get more opportunities, to network with other people, so that in the future you will get paid more lah, right? Yeah. So that's what I would say to Ang Jia Chin. Thanks for the question.
Jeffrey, do you have any thoughts to put in as well? Okay.
All right, then we'll go to the final questions, I guess. There's a tradition so far, I think, out of all the tea times, we always ask this question. What is your most memorable moment while studying in TELUS? I'd like to hear from alumni.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of upcoming semester one, people who haven't actually gone to campus. So this might give them some excitement, you know?
Excitement. There's one time it's really excited. I feel so excited. I saw a snake in the car park, that's why.
I think I saw the same snake.
No, because it's just stopped in front of the road, and I just get down from my car. I don't know what is it. When I look at it, it's a snake. It's an anaconda or something. And then it ran towards me. I was like, fucking hell. But it's 5 in the morning, you know. And then I was like, haven't showered, haven't slept yet. And then there's a snake. Yeah. But anyway, other than that, I think the most interesting moment when I'm in TELUS actually is spending all your times with your friends, staying in the studio, like doing overnight. It's the best moment. And sometimes during the midnight, you just go to what is it, Lorong or something, to drink the big juice, having shisha. It's bad, it's bad to smoke. So yeah, it's really, because until now at this moment, like us, you don't get a chance to do something like this anymore. You know, it's so hard to gather everyone together, like without worrying about anything, just worry about assignment. There's so many things to worry about right now. So just enjoy your moment in TELUS. I think it's a great place. Yeah.
All right. I think TELUS has a variety of animals in there. What about Jason?
Sorry, could you repeat the question again?
What's the most memorable moment experience in TELUS?
Oh man, if you knew me as a student, a lot of actually got lecturer here, I cannot say. Okay, never mind. Yeah, okay, let's see. The most I think I shared a bit about it earlier already, being part of the tribe. I think that was something that was a very big highlight. Yeah, I think the whole studio life lah, so hard to pick a moment. Shit. Yeah, you're right, Jeffrey. Exactly. It's everybody being there and sort of suffering together, right? And kena scolding together. So the fella punya model haven't finished, then you look at yours haven't finished. The fella just kena scolding, and then you're next to go and speak to the lecturer, you know. And the thing is, in a normal situation, it is already quite funny lah, and it's quite bad already. But imagine you and him stayed up 3 nights in a row together, see each other's face the whole time, and both of you also haven't finished the model, you know, for something like that lah. So that is additional to it lah. That there's more than just being a classmate lah. You really somewhat a small family in a sense lah. So I can't pinpoint a specific one outside of Tribe and that camp in back in 2013. I think that was probably the most memorable one, going there together and yeah lah, we just shout and cheer for who knows what lah. Take the tong sampah, whack. I also know what we do, but just, if you've been to an architecture camp, you'll know that's what everybody does. You look around here, everybody got tong sampah, everybody got on stick and they're beating and they're shouting. So you also can do the same thing lah. And then it's just joining a fire show and like you have no idea what's happening, but it's so fun lah. So that's definitely a very memorable experience during Taylor's.
You see, especially for upcoming Sem 1 students, we have a lot to look forward to in campus. Okay, before we end, I think there are some interest in the event that Jeffrey is involved in, which is the Anthology Fest. Maybe Jeffrey can give us some information about it.
Okay, hi. So we'll be having an Anthology Festival. So it's been the 5th year we're doing Anthology Festival. So it's one of the largest architecture festival in Southeast Asia. So last year we managed to invite 6,000 students, developers, architects, suppliers to join this festival. So this year, because of the pandemic, we have to do it online, but it's free to join. So and this year we will be having So Fujimoto, Matt, MAD, and then we also have MBRDB together with us to giving a lecture. And then there's also a student competition. And then I also will be one of the panelists for that event. So anyone who is interested can join. Yeah, all welcome to join. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. I hope people will join. It looks very interesting.
Yeah, maybe next year. I will try to invite Taylor's again so you guys can go to Manila for free.
Do it. I'm also a big fan of So Fujimoto, one of my favorite architects. All right, I guess with that we can close up the event. Before that, I would like to invite everyone to open the cameras. As usual, we take a photo with our marks up. That be okay?
I cannot see my mark.
You
have to put it in front of your face or your body.
Put very close to your face.
It's nothing.
Oh, it's very tall mark design.
Right, we'll give everyone some time and really get those camera open.
Yeah.
Picture.
Open your cameras.
Oh my God, that's my mark.
Oh, picture time, you all open camera lah. People time you never open.
This will be your very rare moments of fame. You'll post this on the Instagram. All right. 3, 2, 1. Smile. All right. Hold up. I'll take the next page. Not many people, but I'll still take anyways.
So many familiar faces. Hi.
Yeah. 3, 2, 1. Smile. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. All right. I'll pass it to Justin.
All right. So before we end this wonderful session, we'll have Miss D to give some closing remarks.
Okay. That's me. Sorry. Hello. Okay. Thank you guys. Great talk. Sorry, hold on. Great talk. I am very proud of Jeffrey and Jason, and it's an interesting talk today about the community projects and remarkable projects, and I salute their love and passion to help people, and it's amazing to see how they are satisfied by doing all these kind of projects. A lot of student comes into architecture, they want to be great architects, they want to be famous and all, but I think what you realize today, you can see that their involvement in the community project is not for monetary reason or even fame, so it's just for their own satisfaction. I think that's very important. I think that's also something that all students should think about, the way forward. I mean, what do you want to do? I mean, with that knowledge that you have after a degree with architecture knowledge. I personally know Jason. He was my first batch of student in 2010 in FNBE, 2010. They were like the March intake. And he was a student who sleeps in my class, literally sleeps, like just coming to the LT and just raise up his feet as if he's in his bedroom or something like that. But I think he did that purposely to avoid looking like a good student. He doesn't want to look like, he doesn't want to look like a nerd, but I always have been proud of him and how he has contributed to the community. And I always believe that he is more than that boy who sleeps in my lecture class. Okay. I think, and I'll just say that it has been a great tea time semester for me, because I think I have a few students from each session that were my students in 2013, 12, the earlier years of my teaching experience. Okay. And for tea time team, good job. Continue this soon. This next season. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. D. Last but not least, we have our Dr. V to share some of her thoughts as well.